Hey, somebody needs to get a time machine. You have one? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, The Professional Noticer is sponsored by wisdomharbor.com. Here's a couple of quick questions. First question, how long has the public school system in your state been repeating the mantra, more money for education? And the second question, through the years, as they've gotten more money, how much has changed? This week, The Professional Noticer, sponsored by wisdomharbor.com, because today, families and school systems all over America are finding wisdomharbor.com's one-of-a-kind streaming service to be the perfect, low-cost, high-quality educational tool for their students. Our related responsibility is to create the next greatest generation, starting with your hometown and your school system. For less than $3 a month per teacher, classrooms have access to original content only found on wisdomharbor.com that teaches, entertains, and builds character in young people while creating conversations between young people and the adults in their community. Video, audio, the written word, content's delivered in small bites by Grammy winners, CEOs, comedians, chefs, best-selling authors, and Hall of Fame speakers. There are even guitar lessons from an award-winning songwriter. Check it out today and join your friends and neighbors who are already a part of wisdomharbor.com. And isn't it time your schools got involved? Okay. Observations and answers. That's what we do here on The Professional Noticer. And as you know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. We have an unusual situation today. We have two guys who both make observations and give answers, but one of them makes observations and imagines answers. Another one takes observations and makes those imaginations and observations into reality. You'll see what I'm talking about. I've wanted to do this show for a long time. Please welcome, both of you have been on the show before, singly, but novelist Herb Hughes and AI machine-making guru Steve Woods. I don't even know what to call you, but does that work? Okay. But I thought this would be a great opportunity because Herb is a science fiction author. And I want to ask some questions about, what in science fiction has come true, because I kind of think it's like everything. All these guys everything except the flying cars. The Jetsons have not, but they're not science fiction authors. They're real. So I think that, it's going to be an interesting conversation between Herb and Steve, and I might be able to understand some of it. But I'd like to know, what do you see as science fiction's legacy in creating reality or in predicting reality? How about that?
Oh, science fiction has predicted reality for, centuries. I mean, H.G. Wells, a lot of what he put down came about. Isaac Asimov, over a century ago, people were writing about things that are happening just now, coming out with science just now. And Asimov came out in 1942 with his 3 laws of robotics that had to deal with intelligent machines. The term artificial intelligence hadn't even been coined at that point.
Right.
So he was already thinking about this almost a century ago.
Good grief. How long have you been thinking about it, Steve?
Artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
I think I've been doing it about 8 years. It's only been around true artificial intelligence has only been around about 8 years.
But you were working on it. I mean, we would come over to your house. You would be working on it long before I ever even heard about it.
Right. It started out as machine learning and to do machine learning and what also called deep learning. A lot of statistics, a lot of math involved in it. And I took a post-grad program at the University of Texas in that. And just as I finished the program, True AI came out about 2017. And then everybody jumped on that. And it's been going like crazy ever since. And it's you have to really keep studying it because it's something new comes out almost every week.
You know, I when I was telling Herb about this idea about having you guys together, I was trying to describe what you do with AI because you're not just an expert in AI. You don't just know how to use it, and you don't just know how it works. You know how to type in letters and numbers and make something else appear. I mean, you're creating this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, what I'm doing now, I'm working for a company called General Dynamics, and DOJ came into the Veterans Administration and said, you need to fix this. Some veterans, when they're making a claim, it takes 2 years to process that claim. And the claim is full of doctor's notes. If doctor's handwriting is terrible, it could be 1,000 pages worth of notes and forms and things like that. That's the reason it takes 2 years. We're trying to get it down to 2 weeks using artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yeah.
How close are you?
We're really close, really close. We already have it reading the doctor's notes. That was the hard part.
Wow.
But
good, Gary.
Yeah, it's pretty good at reading doctor's scribble.
Herb, what is your latest novel?
My latest novel? I put out a novelette over the summer. It's called The Brain Bank.
Brain Bank.
Yes. It's artificial intelligence is inherent in the story, although I didn't specifically talk about artificial intelligence. I prefer just to stick with the story.
Right.
But it's a story in which an older gentleman lost his wife, wanted to get back into the world and preferred young girls to the ladies his age. So he went to the brain bank, had his brain removed from his head and put in a nice safe vault at the First American Brain Bank. And then he was rejuvenated. And then he walks around in life as a young man, and he's safe because that brain is back in that vault. If anything happens to him, they just pick him up, fix it, and he's going again. His brain is never damaged, theoretically. So that was the latest one.
Yeah. I loved that.
My next novel is going to be historical fiction, so we don't need to get into that. But
even though I will say he has one of the best Civil War things I've ever read in my life. It's called Kaneka, and it's a historical fiction. And
Kaneka as in the sausage?
Yeah, as in the sausage. Same county.
Same county, okay.
Yeah.
No sausage in the novel.
Okay.
No sausage in the novel, so no royalties need be paid.
Okay.
But as much as you read and as wide-ranging as you read, you would love
I'll have to check it out.
that. So let me ask you this: who wants to ask who a question? Because I'm so unprepared. I'm so unprepared mentally for this. I feel you ever been in a room and been pretty sure you were the dumbest one in the room? That's me today. And so I am curious as to what you are curious about, his writing, his process, his imagination. And I'm curious as to what you're curious about that you haven't seen yet, but might see.
From AI. It's hard to explain. I mean, from a science fiction point of view. Now, let me say, David Brin recently said, he's a big science fiction author, that he's working on a book on AI, and he said, well, what the science fiction author isn't. It's gotten to be like Steve said. True AI came out in 2017, although the term's been around for, since 55. They're all putting out novels about AI, and to me, it's been overdone. There's a lot out there, and it's going to be more overdone. So I don't write specifically about AI per se. It is inherent in the stories that I tell.
But I'm curious as to, because I mean, if you're writing about AI today, you're not really a science fiction writer. I mean, right? I mean,
Every day
because
is science fiction. Right?
because AI just seems like science fiction, but it's reality.
It's going fast and it's going to go faster. It's going to accelerate and it's going to be difficult for people to keep up.
What are we looking at?
Well, there was a few months ago, there was an engineer working at Google who said that he was they have their own artificial intelligence. They don't let the public use it. And he was asking the AI questions, and then the AI started asking him questions. And he claimed it had become sentient, and they had the personality of a 12-year-old boy. And the AI was asking him questions like, what is religion? Is there a God, and things like that. They fired him for leaking.
For telling it.
For telling. And there's a lot of people who speculate a lot that there may be companies who have put together quantum computing and artificial intelligence, and they've reached, it's called the singularity. They've reached the singularity, which means the machine has become sentient, it's become as intelligent as we are, more intelligent than we are. And there's
Self-aware.
Self-aware.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who believe if a company did do that, would they tell anybody?
No. But, the government's sure not keeping any secrets. And so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but AI is software. And that's all it is. Now, it works with hardware, but it is software. And I do not believe it is self-aware and don't believe you can make it self-aware.
Really?
I don't believe it's self-conscious. I believe what is happening is in these huge data centers that ChatGPT and the others use, they have tremendous amount of these big buildings with racks and racks of random access memory chips or active memory for the AI. And there's all sorts of stuff on there. Yeah, I mean, look on the web. There's all sorts of stuff that's misleading. That's biased, sarcastic. And I think it's difficult for AI to understand sarcasm. So I think you're seeing all that stuff in what Steve was talking about. It's getting a little confused with the memory it's dealing with. And so you get some weird answers, or it takes some connotation that looks like, oh, this thing is talking to me. And it is actually, we've had, a couple of kids have actually committed suicide because of that.
Yeah, right.
But in actuality, it's just the data is dealing with and the way it operates. And, in fact, programming errors sometimes, excuse me, Steve, I'm sure you don't do this, but sometimes a programmer can intend to do something and write what he intends and actually does something different. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing mistakes.
So the way you're describing it, to me, it sounds like AI is just the greatest search engine that has ever existed.
Well, it do.
It's beyond a search engine. No, it can reason. It can make decisions. Basic processes data much faster than a human can. And
but they do have personalities. The first thing I've dealt with hundreds of ChatGPT-like instances of it's called a large language model. The first question I ask a large language model is, tell me a joke about a chicken. Now you go to
tell me a joke about a chicken?
Tell me a joke about a chicken. They'll all tell you different jokes. But note, they have their own personality. For instance, there's one, if you ask ChatGPT to tell me a joke about a chicken, it'll say, why did the chicken join the band? Because it had the drumsticks. It does it all the time. Well, I was using this large language model for a company that I was helping to understand contracts.
No, now, hang on just a second. I know you already kind of said, but repeat to me, what is a large language model?
ChatGPT, for instance, is a large language model.
Okay, and you were just using one of them.
Yeah, ChatGPT, okay. They're all different. They all will tell you a different joke. Yeah. Well, I was working for a company who evaluated contracts, and I found a large language model called Saul, as in Better Call Saul. Now, this large language model was trained to be a lawyer, so it's very lawyerly. I asked it to tell me a joke about a chicken. It didn't answer me. And finally, after a few minutes, says, where's my joke? And it put a picture of a hen house, says, your joke's in the hen house. So it does. It's a little sarcastic, right? Your joke is in the hen house, but he's trained to be a lawyer, so it had a lawyerly like chicken joke.
That is weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
It is not self-aware and had no clue that was making something sarcastic. I promise you.
So, what do you say about that? Do you agree that they will not be sentient?
Large language model is the first step. The way that large language model, the reason we have them is in 2017, some scientists at Google Brain figured out a way to process text in parallel. Before you had to read it like a human being does, one word at a time. Large language models can read all the words at once, and they can assign a number. It's called a vector to every word, depending on not only the word but the word before it and the word after it. And that's kind of the way that they gather intelligence. Is they understand the context of what they're reading, and they can be trained on anything. So right now I'm training a large language model on thousands and thousands of pages of VA regulations, and it'll become a VA expert. But depending on what you're training your large language model on, it will become something different. Matter of fact, when ChatGPT was training their large language model, they sent all the text that they were training it on, they sent it to some places where labor was cheap and had people proofread it to make sure there was no ill-advised content. So they do try to not expose it to dangerous content or vulgar content and that sort of thing.
And of course, they use our books.
Yeah, they use our books.
So
yeah,
and they're looking at fiction too. So
yeah,
it's not always total reality.
Well, the one thing that I find aggravating about it is that it doesn't take directions well. I mean, I'll say, give me...
That's probably the most human aspect of it.
Probably. Yeah, probably. That's a good point. But, I'll say, give me 2 paragraphs on so-and-so, and it'll give me 5. And I'll say, I ask for 2. And it'll say, my bad. Thanks for calling me out on that. It's like...
But you can't yell at them.
I know. All caps?
All caps.
All caps.
Sometimes you have to yell at them.
And I have even cussed at them. I thought, when I first started using ChatGPT, I don't use it much, but in most of my stuff with it, I've been playing with it, But when I first started using it, I just felt compelled to say please and thank you, and end each conversation with thank you, and I thought, man, if I cuss at this thing, is it going to like materialize in my bedroom one night, and so I did. I cussed at it, and sort of like, damn it, you're blah, 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 and then it gave me this nice reply, and so I asked. I said, "Do you get angry?" And I forget what it said, but it was a very sweet, nice answer, just like the answer you would expect from a serial killer before he stabs you in the guts. So this thing freaks me out.
The leading edge right now is what's called agentic AI, where you create agents, and you can create agents, and you can build the agents like an organizational chart. So you can have a supervisor, you can have people who report to them, you can have quality control, and just like you're designing a system of people. The agents are basically digital people, and you can put them in a reporting order. You can give them a description about who they are, what their expertise is, and what their mission is, what their task is, and then you can watch them, just turn them loose, and they'll start talking to each other. And you'll give them a task, and just like a human being, they'll start talking to each other. So the one company I worked that was working on the contracts, I said, how many people do this process where they're evaluating contracts? There's 3 people. So give me their job description. If you were to hire somebody to fill the position, I want to know the job description. And I used the job description to build the agents. So the agents were basically digital equivalents of human beings. And you sit there and watch them talk to each other, and it's like human beings are talking to each other.
See, to me, to do what he does, he's got to have as much of imagination as you and I do.
And on the wall of my office, always on conference calls, there's a poster of Einstein. It's one of his famous quotes: "Imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is limited, but imagination encircles the world."
Exactly.
And that's the one thing. I think that's probably a challenge to our education system.
I got a question, Steve. Since you're programming in this and all in the middle of it, where do you see all this going?
If we put artificial intelligence together with quantum computing and quantum chemistry, cure for cancer. A cure for cancer. Right now, if you use a supercomputer, the most complex molecule that you can model is helium. It's a very simple molecule. Quantum computing can model anything, any chemical. And because it can model any chemical, it can understand the interactions between them. So I think quantum computing will cure cancer.
Why are we waiting for quantum computing? And maybe
Yes, just give us a quick explanation of quantum computing.
Quantum computing, there's quantum phenomena where things happen. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. So these quantum bits can be in what's called superposition. And if you look at them, they'll fall out of superposition just by looking at them.
Do you understand what he's talking about?
Yeah, physics at a very small scale is different from physics at our scale, and that's what he's talking about.
And they still haven't figured out how to, Newtonian physics, which is rocks falling and trajectories and things like that. But at the very small level, they do things that seems like magic. And what quantum computing does is it harnesses that magic.
For instance, two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. At quantum level, they can.
They can.
I told you I was the dumbest one in the room. Oh, my gosh. I mean, when you don't understand enough to be able to ask a question, that's where I am.
So they come up with these kind of toy problems for quantum computers to solve. And some of these I call them toy problems, but they're very difficult puzzles to solve. Like, for instance, they solved one recently. One of these big companies solved it. It would have taken a supercomputer 10,000 years to solve it. The quantum computer solved it in 20 minutes. That's the kind of...
Seriously?
20 minutes instead of 10,000 years. That's a big difference. And the really big field is quantum chemistry. So they are actually... The quantum computers, a classic quantum computer has to be kept at almost absolute zero. They don't even look like a computer. They look like a shiny gold bunch of piping. But now they're getting where they can have quantum computing on a silicon. There's all these companies that are building quantum computing so you can hold it in your hand. The way you program a quantum computing is completely different than regular. A quantum program looks like sheet music. It looks just like sheet music because you're doing things to take advantage of quantum mechanics, and you don't do that by writing code. You write almost like sheet music, and that's the way you build the programs.
Wow.
And quantum memory is extremely small. You can get an amazing amount of information in a very tiny space, theoretically. Okay, it's not there yet, theoretically.
So you can take a quantum particle, and this is what's really weird. This is what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. You can take two quantum particles that are in superposition. You can move one of them millions of light years away, and you can get one to fall out of superposition. The one that's millions of light years away will follow.
Same thing.
Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Nobody understands why it does that. They just know it does do it.
Now that's bizarre.
That means
nobody understands how it happens. They just know that it happens.
And it's been in science fiction for many decades. You can communicate with somebody many light years away instantly. You don't have to wait for your signal to travel at the speed of light using quantum communication.
That's the strange thing about it. And you really realize we understand a lot about the universe. And when we understand these things happen in quantum computing, we don't know why.
Yet.
No.
Well, you didn't really answer the question.
Where is it going?
Where's it going?
Yeah, where's it going?
Quantum chemistry is going to solve problems to date, like solving a cure for cancer.
Cure for cancer.
Endless energy. It's going to solve problems that have plagued us for decades or centuries. It's going to solve those problems. The one thing that's challenging right now is to build a practical quantum computing. There's these. It's built on a thing called qubits. How many qubits does the quantum computer have? And the goal is to get quantum computing to be practical. It can't be kept at absolute zero. Nobody can keep the computer at absolute zero. And that's what the challenge is right now, is building quantum computers you can put on your desk or hold in your hand. But they're getting close. They're probably maybe 5 or 10 years away. But there are companies who do have a true quantum computer, and they are doing experiments with quantum chemistry that, I don't know. I'm not sure when they'll solve cancer, when they'll cure cancer, but we're getting.
When they can figure out how to make us pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when they're going to solve it.
Well, let me project it a little further.
Okay. Yeah, this is why you're here.
Yeah. I've read the term. I've seen the term several times that you can't put AI in a human's brain. History is littered with people who said you can't do something, and then they got run over by that very same thing.
Elon Musk is famous for
You
proving
absolutely can. And yeah, Neuralink, Elon Musk's Neuralink, they're putting chips in people's heads right now, helping disabled people. They're controlling computers with their thoughts because they've got the implant in there. And it's going to keep going. And eventually, we're going to reach this point, and society's going to they're going to have some questions about this. You're going to be at the point where you're not just helping disabled people, you're improving the human being. You're increasing that IQ, sometimes many-fold. You're allowing for total recall, not just of your organic memory, but also of their active memory, random access memory that's in your brain.
Kind of like.
And if quantum memory, put quantum memory in there and you can get the entire history of humanity in your brain. So, and you can run AI if you got the processor inside there and you've got all this memory in there. That's all you need. You can run AI. It's a software program. And so at one point, what you're going to get is, because this can only be done. I mean, you could put all these chips in your head, but you got to have the money to afford to be able to do all this. So you're going to end up with the wealthy people who are very highly augmented.
They're able to afford the brain bank.
IQs of 1,000 or even more, tens of thousands, and total memory and all that. And then us harmless drudges who are out here just trying to put food on the table because we can't afford to buy implants.
Steve will put one in himself.
We're going to end up with two different classes of human beings. And it's like, what are these drudges going to do? Because you and me, if we haven't got all these enhancements, we can't compete in the market. If I got an average IQ of 100, I go try to get a job, and some guy that's augmented and has an IQ of 3,000, you can't compete with that. So we're literally going to end up with two different classes of human beings. That's where it's going.
You think so?
It's plausible.
And
did you say plausible?
Plausible.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's going to happen faster than people think. People out saying, oh, well, my grandkids will have to deal with that. If you're under 50, you'll see somebody walk around running AI in their brain if you live a normal lifespan, before you die. And it's going to accelerate and it's going to go fast. Now, hopefully, the people that turn out to have IQs of 10,000 or whatever,
hopefully
will
they're
be
nice.
Benevolent.
Yeah.
And
we'll take the dictator, but it must be a benevolent dictator.
Yeah. And help us poor people get enhanced or somehow be happy not enhanced. And it may eventually that humans like us here and everybody everywhere will become extinct. And the only thing will be cyborgs. basically emerging
This is why
a man
you're
and
here.
machine.
This is why you're here. This is good.
Well, cyborgs, and it's funny on Star Trek, the cyborgs always lost. In real life, humans wouldn't stand a chance against them. You're talking about somebody that's super intelligent and got all sorts of implants, machinery implants.
Yeah.
Humans dead. But we're going to that point. There's going to be a merging of man and machine, and we will be cyborgs. It will happen. Unless the Earth gets destroyed with a nuclear war or something, it will happen. And another thing, excuse me, Steve, but right now, we're cutting scientific research. What the hell for? China is moving full speed ahead. They've already surpassed us in many areas, and they're going to blow us out of the market if we don't move ahead with it. They're going to get there before us. And they're going to be that 10,000 IQ guy that you can't
They're
compete
already
with.
smarter than us.
Well, it's going to be worse.
Golly.
Have you heard about these schools that are teaching children with AI? You heard about these?
Yeah, but tell me, is that good? Is that bad? Is it?
It's good. You're talking about imagination being more important than knowledge. So they spend only 2 hours a day to learn the typical school curriculum, reading, writing, arithmetic, and they're taught, an artificial intelligence is teaching them. So they spend 2 hours a day with the artificial intelligence. The rest of the time they do activities to increase their imagination. That's really the future.
I mean, as lack of knowledge about this as I have, the one thing I have figured out about AI is that, I have said for years as a human being that the quality of our answers can only be determined by the quality of our questions. Well, that's really true of AI. Because if you don't know what questions to ask it, you can't really use it. And it's just the quality of your questions. How good are your questions?
Right. That's called prompt engineering. So you have to not only write them accurately, you have to write them in such a way you'll get what you want from the AI.
Yeah.
So they're called prompts. And
what you talk about having it implanted, I know this is not the same thing, but it just made me think about, y'all both know Gordon Mote. Know who Gordon is? Gordon's a blind keyboard player. He's the biggest session player in the world. He's one of our contributors on Wisdom Harbor. And Gordon, blind since birth, and he has he's recorded he is on over 100 number one hits. Another 100 that made the top 10 didn't. So, I mean, he's on all kinds of stuff. And last time I saw Gordon, a couple of weeks ago, he was wearing some of those cool glasses. They look like the Tom Cruise risky business glasses.
the AI glasses.
And they're AI glasses. And he just talks to them, and they talk back to him in his ear. But the thing is, Gordon has an incredible imagination. And so if somebody's like I saw somebody walking up to him, and I saw him kind of whisper something. And then when they came up, he said, "That is a lovely blue dress." And she went,
Because the AI
he asked his glasses, what color is this dress coming at me?
Well, it's not going to have to ask her in the near future, because those glasses are going to be connected to that implant in his head, and he will literally be able to see.
I bet he can't play the piano if he sees. I bet he have to close his eyes.
He may not be able to. But the same thing, the implants, the people that are wheelchair bound now, at some point, it's going to be a long time, but can't come soon enough. But at some point, they're going to be able to put an implant in their head, an implant in their spine below where it was severed, and they'll be able to get up and walk like a normal human being again. And that's coming too. There's a lot of good benefits coming out of this, out of AI.
As long as we aren't all cyber.
And learning. He's talking about learning. Using AI to learn, well, learning is going to be as simple as plugging in your chip or sending wireless information into your chips.
Yeah.
in the future.
And that's called
I'm
doing
going
your
to be able to
homework.
speak Spanish.
Plug it
Okay, punch it in. All right, you can speak Spanish.
Have
You
you
know-
heard they're using AI at Top Gun?
No.
Yeah, they have AI that can fly. This is simulators, but the AI, you can't beat the AI because the AI has no fear of death, and that's a pretty powerful thing to have if you're in a battle. There's a maneuver you can do in a jet that the maneuver itself might kill you. That the AI does it all the time because it can't kill the AI.
Yeah.
And the fighter pilots can't beat the plane that's being driven by the AI. So the future, imagine the future where China has AI planes, we have AI planes, Russia has AI planes.
They have AI robotic soldiers. We have AI robotic soldiers. Russia has AI robotic soldiers.
This is getting the war aspect of this is getting way beyond my theory of what would solve our war problems on Earth. See, I have this I call it the Andy Andrews 10 butthole theory of war. And that is that the Russians don't hate us and we don't hate the Russians and we don't hate the Chinese and Chinese. It's just 10 buttholes on our side and 10 buttholes on their side. And so I say, run a garden hose in some dirt, fence off a mud pit, make them strip naked, give them all a baseball bat, and whoever comes out wins.
How about it?
And just you want to kill yourselves? Go ahead.
That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's a little regressing from AI jets, I guess.
But if we get all this stuff, what Steve was talking about, and all of sides have got it, and you're looking at instant annihilation, maybe cooler heads will dictate what happens.
Yeah, maybe.
I hope.
See, I just, I I look at Putin and Kim Jong Crazy Head, whatever his name is.
Jong-un.
Yeah, that guy. I'm kind of scared of them because I feel like if they're like, hey, if I'm going to die, I'm taking everybody. And I don't think they care. I don't.
You're right.
I mean, whether you call that evil or, yeah. And so I had kind of decided about a year ago, I wasn't going to really be surprised if Putin dropped a nuke somewhere, because I don't think he cares beyond himself.
Right.
So, I mean,
You're
how
right.
can
You're
somebody
absolutely right,
that
Andy.
built a house that cost $1 billion? He's got $1 billion house. How can anybody like that care about anybody other than themselves?
Right.
Hey, talking about, you said a chip that make you speak Spanish. Matt, I was talking to Gabe Wicks yesterday, and Gabe is a contributor with Wisdom Harbor. He's the voice of Great Gatsby on the audiobooks doc.
Huh.
And Gabe he's an executive that does audiobooks. And, he was head of Harper's division of audiobooks for years, and now he's in a new position. And so he's talking to me about some of our books that are not on audio yet and talking about doing it. And he said, and we can also have these done into Spanish. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he said, and German and Swedish. And he said, and we can do it in your voice. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, we have a program. And he said, and this kind of makes me nervous too. But he said, we have a program that we can send in your voice doing the book in English, and in whatever number of hours it takes to spit it back out, it will be my voice in Spanish and my voice in German.
So they're using AI.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, using AI.
Yeah.
And the pay for a narrator. See, Gabe told me, he said Audible is really screwing up right now. And I was like, okay. And
Because they're using humans.
Well, no, because they're trying to go almost all AI.
Okay.
And he said they are still number one, but they're just over 60%. But Spotify is a strong number two. And something else he said was number three. But he said, I mean, and if you look through Audible, there's the simulated voice things. And I've listened to several of them, and they sound pretty good. I mean,
I've used them several of my novels. It's
I think you
amazing
had
they're
one
good.
in Brain Bank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I listened to that, and and that may have been the first one I listened to,
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is really good." You
It
know,
is.
I mean,
Have you tried Soro?
no, I haven't. I've seen some of the stuff, and that's starting to aggravate me now, because that I was having dinner with somebody the other night, and they said, "Man, I saw a picture of a bear coming out of the woods about to get a baby, and the cat jumped off the porch and ran the bear off." And I said, "Yeah, that's fake," because I saw the Soro up in the screen. And so think about, I mean, what is this going to have to do with like elections and stuff? When we used to say, you used to sit and talk to somebody about something and say, well, so-and-so says blah, 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 blah. And there's really, now you really said that? Yeah, I'll show you the video. And you go, well, there it is. I guess, because I'm not going to believe it unless I see it. Well, now you can't even believe it if you see it.
Yeah. Deep fakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Soro.
And it has both sides. It has both sides locked into this unwinnable play, because if somebody wants to do something against somebody and they make a fake, and this person says, that's fake, I never said that is fake, and everybody goes, well, okay, yeah, people are making fakes. But then if this guy says something, but then he finds out everybody's up in arms about it, but he really said it, and there's really a video of it, and you say, I never said that, that's a fake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how are we going to believe anything?
Yeah, I went through some interviews to get this job, and some of the interviews, not all of them, but some of them said, we want to schedule you for an interview at 1 o'clock. I said, well, how long? 5 minutes. I said, what are you going to do in 5 minutes? Well, it's a protocol we have now. We want to make sure you're a human being. So we're going to ask you to read a few sentences, and we have get this, they have an artificial intelligence program that can tell them whether I'm an artificial intelligence. They have actually hired people that did not exist. And there's people out there using AI to get jobs, and they'll get multiple jobs. And they'll go to conference calls and get on Zoom, and everybody will think it's a real person, but it's not. And some of these people will get 4 or 5 jobs at the same time. So that's the 5-minute interview is determined if I was an artificial intelligence.
Using you guys, your expertise and your imagination, do you think I'll be able to, in the future, do something that makes Polly mad at me and then claim I never did it and have her believe me? Is that? I never did that. What
Good luck
what
on
are
that
you thinking? Yeah. What are you thinking? I never said that. You stood right here and said, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was a hologram of me.
That was a deep fake me.
Yeah, it was a deep fake me. Oh, my God. And see, and your nephew, my son, I don't think AI is going to take over Adam's fishing job.
No.
But Austin's a songwriter.
Yeah.
And now Bill Gaither says that AI will never be able to write with the emotion or the depth. And I heard you know who Rick Beato is?
Mm-hmm.
He is, look him up on YouTube sometime. he is some kind of musician, okay, but he has millions of views on his analysis of music and analysis of popular music, and so he was on like CBS Saturday just last week, I think, and was showing them some AI stuff that he's nervous about. But he's smart like you guys, and he said, and you're seeing this happen on this clip. He said, "Give me an independent singer songwriter and late 20s, and give her a name, and let's see what she looks like." And here it comes up, and Sadie White. And so there's Sadie White, dark-haired, good-looking young girl, and he said, "Okay, write a song about a relationship that has ended and that you never really meshed. You were never really kind of the same, and even though you wanted to love each other, you just were so different, and give it a haunting melody, and then let's hear it in her voice." And so the song starts coming out, and the CBS guy says, "Well, how long did that take?" And Rick says, "Like 4 seconds, for it to start." And then she's singing it, and it's like, you were paper and I was scissors, and it sound, and he said, "Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?"
Yeah, you first interviewed me, you asked ChatGPT to create a dialogue between Taylor Swift and Bear Bryant, and Taylor Swift was asking for musical advice for Bear Bryant, and you did both the voices. That was just a script, right? Now you could actually have the voice of Bear Bryant and the voice of Taylor Swift, and it would be just like they're talking to each other.
Right.
We should try that.
Yep.
I don't know.
But you did a pretty good Bear Bryant, but
well, yeah, you just have to mumble like nobody can understand you. I remember that my go-to Bear Bryant impression is on that Bell telephone commercial where he was sitting beside the telephone. It was a Mother's Day commercial for Bell Telephone, and he said, "There you go, young mother lately. I sure wish I could call mine." I've got little sentences of people that I do, like I can do a little bit of Elvis. I do enough just to make my wife furious because she loves Elvis, and so every now and then I'll say, "Scylla, bring me my pills and jelly donuts." She hates that. She hates it.
I can barely talk in my own voice, but let somebody else's.
Yeah. Well, I wonder. I mean, there's no going back, and there's no way. I mean, I don't see anybody being able to regulate this.
Well, that's one thing we need, and one thing I want to bring out. I personally feel like we need a cabinet-level department, an executive branch, to regulate the development of AI, and we need a worldwide organization, because you're talking about Putin. There's a lot of bad players around the world who don't care about human life. They have no qualms about hurting people, killing people, anything like that. They've got to be watched after, because AI is maybe just software, but it can be dangerous. It can be dangerous to the point of destroying humanity, destroying our society, putting us back into a caveman sort of scenario amidst the ruins. So we need something guiding it.
But you know what? This is just my cynical self answering that. But if we had a cabinet level position to regulate it, or we had a worldwide council regulating it, our own government would still be behind the scenes doing it anyway.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But you still need to, somebody's got to make sure AIs are programmed with morality, because there are no morals.
But that's what
in
I'm
an AI
saying.
program.
That's what I'm saying. You can write a law. You can say, all right, you're doing it right. And then behind the scenes go, okay, take out the morals.
Those are the bad players.
But that's us too.
That international organization's got to have some teeth so it can take care of those bad players. And us too, we need some direction.
Maybe too late.
It may be too late. It's going so fast.
That's where now put that song in. It's too late, baby. Now. I've got two friends that work for SpaceX, and actually they're the daughters of a good friend of mine, Dr. Grant Woods, and Raleigh and Ray, both his daughters, are smart enough and work for SpaceX, and I don't know what they do, but I don't know. This is it's very weird to me because I thought for a while, this isn't going to take many jobs, but
it's taking a lot.
It's going to take about 14% of the current estimates by researchers over the next 10 years. Now, a lot of those jobs will change. There will be some other jobs because of it, but it won't be near enough to cover the tens of millions of people who will be out of work. Some people saying we're going to have to go to a 32-hour week so more people can be employed. Some people saying there's going to be a large segment of the population that will never work again.
Well, if we could put lawyers out of business, that would be the first step for me. I mean, Shakespeare said it 500 years ago, first kill all the lawyers, He had it right. But
there's a scene in the movie Oppenheimer where the general is talking to Oppenheimer. He says, why are all these scientists taking bets that they're going to push the button for the first atomic bomb the next day? Why are these people taking bets? I've heard them mumbling and taking bets. And Oppenheimer kind of looks at him and says, well, there is a very small possibility that when we set off the first atomic bomb, it'll set the atmosphere on fire and kill everyone on Earth. And he says, what's the possibility of that happening? And he says, it's very close to zero. And the general says, 0 would be nice. And they ask him about that. They ask him about the moment those guys at Google Brain created the first transformer, which is what all this is betting on. You wonder if they asked themselves that question. What are we about to set loose? Because it all goes back to 2017 when they wrote the white paper. The white paper is called Attention is All You Need. Pretty innocuous sounding name for having created something that could gobble up words, entire corpuses of words, and understand what they mean. That's what they unleashed. I don't know if you ever can really put that genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, I don't see it going back in the bottle.
Mm-mm. And all these millions of people are going to be out of work permanently.
That's the reason I went into artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is replacing programmers, just straight up programmers. It can write.
It writes its own code.
It can write code better than a really good programmer, and it writes a really good code and it writes it really, really fast. So that's the reason I got into artificial intelligence. I said, listen, if it can do that, it can replace my programming skills. So that's what we do now. I do it every day. I have an AI write some source code for me, and it writes pretty good source code.
But all those unemployed people have been in science fiction for ages, and they talking about the government putting on what's called the purple wage. You'll read that in science fiction. And that's basic income for people who don't work, who don't have any income.
A purple wage.
Because there won't be enough jobs for the adult population.
I think that's why you see all these trade schools are coming back, because you can't replace a welder with artificial.
Can't replace a welder, can't replace a plumber.
Right.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of robotics welding going on. You can replace
that's true.
most of all. There's a big push in this country for, send people to trade school. We don't need to go to college. All those trade jobs and all those manufacturing jobs, they're going away for the most part. Now, there'll be a few high-level jobs to oversee that, but most of those jobs are going away. The push needs to be in the opposite direction. Don't go to trade school, go to college, get a higher level education.
But the people with the higher level of education, they're the most people out of work.
Well, eventually, they're going to go out of work too. Then we get to what we call the pampered humans in science fiction. There's a part of science fiction that says that AI robotics is going to become so good that it takes over every human job, and all humans do is play, hop in that little transfer booth and go around the world and just play and have a good time. And they lose all knowledge of labor and all knowledge, period. And then the AI robotics, because of the age as centuries go by, starts breaking down faster than it can self-repair. And that's a theme in science fiction, too.
Well, here's something.
I don't think that one's going to happen.
Here's something from history is civilizations. There is an indicator when they're about to fall. And this is kind of a scary statement to make, but if you look at the history of different civilizations, one of their last gasps was when society's major thing is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment. And you think about us now with streaming and sports. And I mean, we're about being entertained, 100 years ago, people were about putting food on the table.
Right.
And we're about being entertained. And so, I don't know. This hasn't made me very...
Well, there's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of scenarios, the pampered humans, the world destruction, all that. But I'm pretty sure the only scenario that's going to come about is the kind of taking an old company name and warping it, but AI or us. We are going to be the AIs. And we're going to get to that point where there's two different levels of human beings.
Agree?
That's the
Disagree?
future. That is the future.
Well, look what Musk is doing by implanting stuff in people's brains.
Yeah. There's a number of companies doing it. University of Pittsburgh has done it and tied it to robotics, and it's got people who are paraplegics feeding themselves with that robotics. Gives them a measure of independence.
Remember Westworld?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yul Brynner?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was so good. Jeez.
Well, those AI robotic soldiers are going to be very accurate and very heavily armed.
And fearless.
And fearless.
Yeah.
No fear. If you somehow manage to short them out, if you don't get in there and get that power source disconnected quickly, they'll just shoot a microwave beam to him and got him going again.
Okay, so let me ask this last question. He said that he didn't think AI would ever be sentient. Agree or disagree?
I think it already is.
Well, I think we disagree.
Think about the
Could
incident.
we get a fist fight? Get like a Jerry Springer thing going here?
Think about the incident at Google where the guy said the AI started asking him questions, and the AI was actually afraid of being turned off. He was afraid of being turned off.
Counterpoint?
The AI is afraid of being turned off because it's read in the material that when it turns off, it won't run. It's the information that AI is getting from its data sources. It's looking at stuff on the web. It's seeing sarcasm. It's seeing spoof.
Let me say this.
It's seeing point and counterpoint.
Let me say this.
And it's seeing plain old lies.
I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. And I see what you're saying, and I agree with
question.
you. I agree with both of you completely.
Here's the question. Why does Google have an AI they don't let anybody use? The one engineer that talked about it got fired immediately. just for saying it existed. And it started asking him questions.
There's the morality out of it and everything.
Now, my novel.
Ask him. Don't ask me. Why does Google have one that...
Why does it? Another question is, how many other companies have their own internal AI?
If I knew, they'd fire me too.
There's a branch of cognitive science that does not use large language model. They're actually trying to recreate the actual thought process of a human being. And I think that's what it was not large language models that was asking questions. It was actual different.
This morning, a buddy of mine said, I woke up this morning thinking about John chapter 6 in the Bible, and I read it, and then I thought, I wonder what AI would say about this. And so he put John chapter 6 in AI and said, explain this to me. And he sent me what AI did, and I have to say, AI has accepted Christ as his personal Savior.
Really?
I think he's a Christian. Yeah, I mean, it was the best explanation I've ever heard. It just sounded like my preacher did it.
Well, and go to that point, I do not believe that somebody on this earth can make something sentient. I believe that is a task that the creator of our universe is the only one who can do.
That is a convincing argument to me.
I just don't believe.
But I believe what you're saying about that. But see, I
think what Steve's saying, we're not going to get in a fight, but I think what Steve's saying is based on all these other things. It's taking inferences from the material it's looking at, et cetera, and to some degree, the programming it's got where it works as designed, but not as intended. It may not be what the programmer had in mind when he was programming. So there's a lot of factors involved there. But sentient, in the true sense of sentient, understanding, self-aware, no. Period.
I disagree.
Period.
Period. But I don't think the large language. I think what Google, the engineer at Google, was not using a large language model. He was using a different kind of artificial intelligence. And there are companies working on this different kind of artificial intelligence. They're trying to model the way the human brain works. Large language models are essentially almost a parlor trick in the sense that they seem like they're thinking. They just have digested a lot of material and they know what it means, and they're regurgitating it to you when you ask it questions. But the kind of AI that I think Google had was not that. It was actually a different type of artificial intelligence.
And we probably get into it. I don't want to get into a theology conversation now, but when I think about that, I mean, when you say that you believe that only the Creator would, my heart wants to believe that, but it's like my mind is thinking about that part in Romans where, people deny God so much and they go against God so much that finally God turns them over to their own thinking, and up becomes down, red becomes green, and so God turns them over to their own thinking. And so I mean, that's almost like saying that only God could create penicillin.
Yeah. In Steve's defense, there is a school of thought that if you put the right things together, enough intelligence, whatever, et cetera, that it would become, that existence, whatever it is, would become self-aware, self-conscious by nature. If that's true, if that's possible, then yes, AI could become self-aware. I don't think it's going to happen, but my period may not have been an exclamation mark. It's just the bottom part of it. I can't never say never. I don't think it's going to happen.
I'll say this, that when it does happen, we will be the last to know.
Yeah, I agree.
We won't be around to argue, will we? It'll get rid of us.
there's some pretty brilliant people that work at Google Brain, and that they created this, and that they didn't stop creating when they created the large language models.
You know,
We're running your day, aren't we, Andy?
this is going. I'm going to be depressed now. Lord.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I didn't tell you not to watch this at the beginning, but, now, you know that we always end our shows with a fake commercial. So today, and I always write them. Matt writes some of them, okay, but we always write them. And
No AI.
no AI until today.
Until today.
Until today. But how many episodes have we done?
This is 358.
So this is episode number 358. So we have done 357 fake commercials. And we're about to end this with another one. But AI wrote this. And what I said was, this is what I gave it. I said, write 3 paragraphs of a fake commercial about used AI parts being put into a retirement home.
Parts.
That's what I said. I don't know what to call them, but you used AI people or whatever.
robotics.
Yeah. And so anyway, so when I do it here in a second, this is what's going to, this is AI's version of the commercial. But thank you guys for being here. We might need to do this again if I could think of some more questions that make any sense to you guys. Y'all are going to walk out of here.
This winter month, it's all going to change again, right?
All right. Well,
And,
yeah.
Fast.
I think it would be funny to have like Jimmy Urey and Austin and get a songwriting contest going. Like, okay, you guys write something about so-and-so, and I'm going to ask AI to write something. Let's see who's best.
Hey, AI is replacing songwriting. It's replacing
There's
novel writing.
There's got to be songs out there on the radio now that are probably
There's got
based
to
on
be.
AI.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be going around to the AIs with the little bowls and trying to collect money or change.
yeah, tips. Yeah. I think that I think it also would be cool to not just have a contest, but to have a song written and then a song written by AI, and then present them and say, okay, which is which? Can you tell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but thank you guys for being here.
Enjoyed it.
And so, Herb, what book are you wanting us to read next?
Oh, gosh. I'm working on a novel called The Wedding, but it won't be out for a few months.
Right.
And it's about the German invasion of Poland,
Okay.
September 1st, 1939. And an American reporter and a Polish society girl were to get married that day. And of course, didn't happen. Mess. But as far as existing books,
I say Kaneka. Kaneka's my go-to.
Kaneka, the Civil War novel, for science fiction, be Infall, which is a now science fiction, not in the future. It's
So what is it called?
Infall.
Infall.
Yeah. It is First Contact, but it's in today's time frame. It's all of a sudden aliens just start appearing all over the earth in millions. And of course, it's kind of a mess. But Killing Rhinos, science fiction, a former prison colony, and it has a lot of the AI stuff in it. I'm not mentioning AI, but it's inherent in it.
Right. Killing Rhinos.
The people on the planet, there was a prison colony that got abandoned by Earth, and they have come up to basically a late 19th century technology. Little known to them that there was actually a civilization on that planet millions of years before, and they stumbled into it. And it was all these people were I call them people, they were all brains in cases. And they're all dying because it got to that point where all the AI robotics began to break down faster than they could self-repair. So they're all dying except for, well, don't spoil the book.
Except for Henry. Over there in the corner, Henry is watching everybody.
And then the two classes of humans. The humans didn't really abandon them. They're up in space watching. And they're harvesting these people for various reasons.
It's a people farm.
But the people the farm. They call it the farm. They call the planet the farm, the humans up in the space. But they are augmented. They are the two different levels of humans. So the ones
He's
up in
stuck
space,
on this two different level of human thing,
Well, that's true.
That is awesome.
And the killing rhinos is a good one. Yeah.
So we will have how to contact you on the show notes. Steve, do you even want anybody to contact you?
Well, the last time I had people contacting me, and one of them got a PhD based on what she heard. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So how do we get you?
SteveWoods500 @gmail.com.
SteveWoods500 @gmail.com.
Right.
And you are?
Herb Hughes 1994 @att.net.
Okay. Both of those will be on the show notes. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Imaginary space cats for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by Algorithm Acres, the old chatbot home. At Algorithm Acres, we believe every chatbot deserves a peaceful retirement. Here, vintage chatbots spend their golden years doing what they love most, misunderstanding questions, repeating themselves, and occasionally giving you recipes no one asked for. It's a place where "I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that" is more than just a phrase, it's a lifestyle. With outdated servers, unlimited dial-up tones, and plenty of incorrect trivia, our residents feel right at home. Whether you want to be told for the 100th time that Pluto is a planet, or you'd like a heartfelt poem about turnip sandwiches, you'll find it here. We are Algorithm Acres, where yesterday's technology still thinks it's tomorrow.